Where are we looking? Where is the camera at?
Just look at me.
That thing?
Right here, don't wear pinky.
Okay.
Okay, you're good. Good. You're going.
Oh. Hey, welcome to Shared Legacy Farms, to my kitchen. My name's Corinna Bench. I'm the farmer's wife, and I am joined today by my good friend and CSA coach, Katie Jardin.
Hi, guys.
Katie is our registered dietitian for our CSA membership program on our farm, and today I've invited her to join me for a very special video broadcast, which I think is going to add a lot of value for you. We are going to discuss the problem of picky eaters. Now, I know that none of you are picky eaters out there, certainly not you, but maybe you have a spouse that's a picky eater, or you have some children that are picky eaters. And a lot of times we get this question from people who are thinking about joining our CSA farm. They're like, well, I don't know if I want to get a box of vegetables from you guys every week, because what if you give me some vegetables that we don't want to eat, or I've got picky eaters and they're not going to eat it, and how do I handle that? And actually, we have people that join our CSA because they want to try and deal with picky eaters.
Right, they know that they have a problem that they want to fix,
and
this is a way to make yourself fix it.
It is. It really is. It is a way that can help you do that. So today we're going to give you some tips about how to handle picky eaters. We have quite a few of them. We just cut some of them out because there were so many, but we probably have about 10 or 12, and we're going to walk you through some of these suggestions. So let's talk about first just when we experience picky eaters, like when this phenomenon might happen in your household. When does it happen for you, Katie?
Well, for me, it could be if we were going out to eat, and maybe I knew there wasn't going to be like a huge lot of menu options, and we might be kind of limited as far as choices go. So it could definitely be out to eat, whether that's at a restaurant or, like you were saying, at a family's house or a friend's house or like a family party. That's going to make the situation even more limited because there's only going to be a few options. So that's definitely a potential picky eater situation.
I'm always worried when we go to someone's house because I don't want to be embarrassed, right? I don't want to have them sit at the table and then not eat it. And then to me, I feel like this is a skill set I need to give my children. Yeah. That you need to learn how to eat when someone makes a meal for you. So,
I agree. As a recovering picky eater, I will tell you that situation still gets me a little like, okay, what are they going to have? Even if I can, and I know maybe this might be something you do in the beginning, find out what they're having beforehand. I can do a little bit of prep for myself or for the children and kind of let them know this is what we're having. So just prepare for it now.
Right.
Yeah.
I think another situation that people often experience picky eaters is whenever you try something new, or you get a new vegetable, a new recipe shows up at the table that's featuring a completely new ingredient. And that is always a risk for people with their kids or their husband or wife, like, oh, I don't know if I want to try that. What is this?
Even when you're at the grocery store and you're like making that final decision, like, am I going to make this for dinner or am I not going to make this for dinner? Because I don't know if everyone's going to like it.
Yeah. And I think we tend to want to stick with this, be safe and like stick with the things we've always made. And because we know that they're going to eat it, and we don't want to spend all that time cooking a meal.
Cook a meal and then have everyone say
say, I hate this, right? Or not eat it. That's like completely unaffirming. So and that happens at our CSA where people when they first join, and we've been real candid about this, that you're going to have situations where you're going to open up your box and you're going to see what is this thing and what do I do with it, and feel really intimidated by it. And that's part of what we try to do to help you learn how to eat those vegetables so your kids will eat them and they taste good.
And prepare for that a little bit more. To know that it's Sunday and you know you've got kohlrabi coming in your box this week. Let's talk about that. Let's think about what you're going to do with it. Let's get prepared so that way it's not just showing up at your house.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so we've done a lot of research. We've asked our CSA insiders this question too, but we've also looked around and online, and I've gotten a lot of really neat ideas, and I've kind of pulled them all together into this list of probably 10 items we're going to go through.
Yeah.
We're just going to dive right into that right now. The first tip that we would give you if you have a picky eater syndrome going on in your house would be to stop giving choices. Stop giving choices. And this is going to be, I told Katie before we started, I'm like, I don't know, I think I'm going to have some people out there that are going to disagree with this parenting style. But I know a lot of people do this, and it works for them. If this is too hardcore for you, then you'll know and you just won't try it. But what I mean by stop giving choices is that who is dictating what you eat at the table? Is it you or is it your kids? I feel like it's our job as parents to be training their palate and teaching them how to eat and make good, healthy decisions about what they put into their body. So when I prepare a meal, I place it in front of them and I expect them to eat it. And if they don't want it and they say, I want something else to eat, I say, no, this is what's for dinner. So this is kind of that old phrase, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. We do that in our family for our meals, and if they don't like it, then I say, well, then you're not going to eat. You have the choice not to eat this, but then you're not getting dinner. And you know what? They'll be hungry, and they'll be okay. They're not going to die if they don't eat that one meal.
Yeah.
And you know what? The next day, they know you mean business, and they eat it. So, but I wouldn't say that I'm like, so hardcore that I make that meal again, even though they hated it. Like, I'll make some adjustments the next time, right? And I'll try to...
Or it might not be like the whole meal, right? You might just be trying a new side dish, and obviously they're going to have maybe something else to eat.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll eat the other parts of the meal, but just not that. So, but I don't say, okay, well, go and grab some cereal if you don't like this. I don't offer another option. So, some of you might not agree with this method, but this is what we do, and it seems to have worked.
I kind of agree. I mean, as a dietitian now, and like the fact that I see so many people in the pediatric population, or so many children now being diagnosed with like chronic diseases that were once a more adult onset, I can say that letting your child dictate those food decisions all the time, I mean, maybe once in a while, sure, obviously, but every single night on a regular basis, sure, they're going to choose like more mac and cheese, more chicken tenders, more cereal, more crackers, more candy, sweet, salty items, and that's not getting us to a very good place, just in general.
Right.
So,
if you're not exposing them to other things, they're not going to know that they might like it. I mean, you are controlling what they eat in the initial stages as they're growing up, right? I mean, you're the one that's putting it in front of them, and so if you never give them anything but the same options, that's what they're gonna be trained to love. So you really have to kind of take on that responsibility.
And it's a big one. It's a big job
as a coach.
Yeah.
So stop giving choices, and you make those good decisions for them. What's the next one?
Next one on our list is to limit snacks, especially right before meals. So I can say as someone that has a toddler, sometimes snacks can be really appropriate, especially like mid-afternoon or maybe mid-morning. But definitely within an hour before I expect them to eat a decent meal, I don't want to be giving a bowl of crackers or like cereal or something like that, because that is going to mean that they are going to eat less at that meal that I really want to count. So, trying to limit snacks or things they might fill up on. If they're hungry and they have to wait an hour, it's the same as you as an adult. Like, if you have something to eat, you're probably going to eat less at that meal. And if you're putting the time in to make a good, nutritious meal, you want them to really take advantage of it. So, trying to limit snacks.
This also goes with drinks. So one of the things that I've noticed that happens with our son Josiah, our little guy, when we go out to eat at a restaurant, a lot of times, they ask you for your drink order first, and Josiah will we usually make him get a cup of milk. Sometimes we let him have soda when we go out to eat, but he'll just down that right away. And then when the meal comes, he doesn't eat most of it. And the reason why is because he just drank all his calories in liquid, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's something to watch out for, is just don't let them drink a ton before dinner, or
eat a ton.
Their stomach won't have room. They won't feel hungry anymore. So this is picky eaters syndrome happens sometimes because they're just not hungry because they just snacked on something else. So.
And I will say too, like especially for younger children like toddlers, it is really normal to have a snack, because they do have a really small stomach and they are going to fill up fast. You can expect them to eat an entire dinner plate full of food. So making your snacks count. Meals count as far as nutrition goes, and the snacks actually count. So throwing empty calories their way, even for those snacks, is not going to be a good idea. So having bananas or cut up grapes or apple slices or sliced cheese or some plain yogurt, having nutritious snacks available is also going to make a big difference. Snack time is another opportunity to introduce them to new foods. Snack time does not have to be the same old snacks you're pulling for your cupboard. So having those things available is really, really going to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, the third tip that we have for you is don't buy unhealthy foods.
Yeah.
Just don't,
Hands down,
just
don't have them around.
even put them in your house, okay? Now this, to me, this is really big. I don't always follow this rule, but I feel like, if you don't have the bad stuff in your house, folks, your kids can't eat it. Neither can your husband. So, or you.
Or you. Like, I feel like,
or you.
I tell my parents this. They're like, well, we were really trying to not eat as many like chips at night, and I open up their pantry and there's like tortilla chips, potato. I'm like, how are you like? You have like, they have like 5 different types of chips in their pantry. I'm like, it must be so much harder for you to not eat these things because every time you open your cupboard, they're staring at you.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah.
So again, listen, you're training your palate and you're training your kids' palate. So if you have things in your pantry that are yummy, certainly delicious and yummy and easy and fast, then of course that's what they're going to eat. So taking that away and having other alternatives is a really, I think, a big deal.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
If you don't have chips but you have an apple, you're going to take the 30 seconds and cut up the apple for the apple slices. So taking that factor away really helps. And sure, there's going to be weeks where you have that available, but as long as you're making the conscious effort where sometimes you don't, it's going to make you prep and have some healthier options.
This is hard, guys. I know this is hard because this is a lifestyle change probably for you too as the parent, and that may be why it's not happening because you secretly want them. Right? I know you really want to train this in your kids, and you probably are listening and like, yeah, that's probably what I need to do. But in the back of your mind, you're like, I will not give up my, Girl Scout cookies or yeah, exactly. So I get it, but this is something you really need to think about.
Yeah.
All right, what's number 4, Katie?
Number 4 is don't give up. We mentioned, we're going to mention the try 3 rule. I'm going to say even try 4, try 5, try 6 rule. So just because someone, whether it's a child or an adult, says they don't like Brussels sprouts the first time they try them, doesn't mean they don't like Brussels sprouts. So offering it at least 3, if not 4 times more, in a variety of ways.
Yeah,
so,
3 or 4 different meals.
Yeah,
not like,
different meals, not different bites.
Right.
Not roasted Brussels sprouts every single time, but trying veggies, especially, I'm using veggies as an example, in a larger variety of ways. I know sometimes my family will like rice cauliflower where we chop it up like rice versus just like steamed cauliflower. So just because they don't like the steamed cauliflower doesn't mean they don't like cauliflower. We just might kind of have to modify it or cook in a variety of ways. I will tell you that sometimes it can take 6-10 times of exposing a young child to a new vegetable before they're even willing to try it. So this kind of probably just goes along the same thing as like eat what everyone else is eating for dinner. If you're eating a variety of veggies on a regular basis, your child's going to be exposed to a larger variety of veggies on a regular basis, and that's going to make them more likely to try them. I was trying with my 2-year-old to get him to eat peppers. I don't know if he had never had them or I just hadn't had them around, but sure enough, the first time I put that sliced up like red pepper or green pepper in front of him, he thought it was crazy. He looked at it, I think he probably threw it. So what I did is I cut up some peppers. I had them in the fridge, just pepper slices, and every time I served him lunch or dinner, I put 1 pepper slice along with the food that he already liked. So if we were having chicken or he really likes to cook broccoli, I would just put that pepper slice there and I would say, Williams pepper, and he didn't try it until the 5th time. The 5th time, he took a bite of that pepper and he was so excited, Williams pepper. So if every meal I would have had to cut up a pepper for him, wouldn't have happened. But because I already had it ready and I was just pairing it with foods he already liked, eventually he tried it and he liked it. So just keep on going, keep on trying, and the more you're eating new foods, the more they're going to be apt to try new foods.
I think our CSA is going to be really good at this, especially this year, because one of our goals is to try and, with every vegetable, encourage you and give you 3, actually it's more than 3, but encourage you to learn 3 ways, 3 common uses for that vegetable. But well, there's probably like 10 common uses for almost every vegetable. But learning those yourself will really allow you to kind of expand your some of the different kinds of meals that you can make with something. So, and so, what's the 5th one?
So kind of along with that, trying new veggies, and as we talk about children, just the earlier the exposure, the better. I have some people that say, oh, my children are too young. never too young. You know, even if they see you eating those foods and they just try a little bit of them, a child's never too young to start to try new foods. The older we get, the more we start to develop into our own food habits and food patterns. And once your children are in school and then teenagers, they just take on more responsibility themselves for those food habits. So it's really important to start as early as possible. I'm sure you guys know as adults, once you've decided that you don't like a food, you're not going to try it. I mean, it's going to be harder for you to try it.
Yeah.
So the earlier we can expose them to new foods, even when we're talking about baby foods and just mashing up your own food and giving them a variety of tastes and flavors. Also along those same lines, not over salting or offering too many sweet foods, because that's just triggering that area of their palate and going to make them more apt to just try those types of foods.
Isn't there, like, there's brain chemistry studies that show, that the kids, parts of their brain light up when they get these sugary foods. So.
Gosh, parts of your brain light up when you get those sugary foods, right? You have those like pleasure hormones and it makes you feel calm and you like that feeling, and then it goes away and you just want more. So think about doing that with a young child. So really just trying to offer them a large variety of foods as soon as possible. It's never too late. Never too late, but never too early.
Yeah. I'd also say too that that I think that all of these things that we're giving you, take them with moderation. I don't feel like you should swing the pendulum all the way to one side and be so hardcore. I did that with my first child, and I was just like, there will never be soda in this house ever. I was telling my Grandpa, don't you dare give him soda to drink. Don't you dare give him cake and ice cream. I don't want the sugar gene or whatever. And what I discovered is that when he then finally got it when he was older, it was like, oh, he's like, what is this? So I feel like, it's kind of a happy medium. I'm not saying don't ever give them sugary foods. Like, there are times and places when that's fine, but this should not be their...
It's what you do 90% of the time at home that's going to count.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So number 6 is emphasizing good manners. So, we really wanted our kids to understand that being picky about food and saying things like, that's gross, I don't like that, I don't want to eat that, like, that's not polite. You don't say that to someone, you don't say that to your mom who's spent an hour making this meal or 30 minutes making this meal, but you also definitely don't say it when you go to someone's house, right? And you're like, ugh. So we've actually created a special table manners poster over here. Kurt, do you want to turn? We put that little, if you want to take a little screenshot of that or something while he's there. But we've got 24 rules so far. It's a little...
And it looks like you add to them, right?
Oh yeah, we've been adding to them. We've got different color marker there.
It can grow.
So as things show up, as parents, if we discover, man, this is a problem, a pattern that we need to kibosh, we'll add it to the manners board. But we do talk about our manners quite a bit at the table, and we use it as an opportunity to just teach them, hey, this is how, if you don't like something that you're eating, this is how you handle it. And we walk them through a sample, something that you might say instead, without hurting someone's feelings. So it's an opportunity, if you have a picky eater, it's an opportunity to talk about what good manners look like.
Maybe even adults sometimes need a little manners.
I know. Well, yeah. And then we've also toyed with the idea of having a consequence for each one. So we're like, oh, if you break number 3, you have to dust the house.
I love it. I love it.
So.
All right, number 7.
Oh yeah, number 7. So this is a big one for me. Be a good role model yourself.
Yeah.
Be a good role model yourself. So there's kind of 2 ways you can look at this. Number 1 is that you have to model how you want your kid to eat. So if it's important to you that your kids aren't picky eaters, I want you to hold up a mirror, and I want you to look at how you eat. What are you modeling for them? And this is hard. When I first had my first son, Jed, I think I told you I went a little bonkers. But I was like, no soda. Now this was really hard because I drank a lot of soda, or pop, or whatever you call it. I usually had one or 2 cans a day. And I just decided I don't want my kids to drink a ton of soda.
Right.
And so if that's important to me, then I can't be doing it myself. And so I made that commitment that I'm not going to drink it. And then I went the next mile and said, we will not have it in the house, right? Like I banned it from the house. Now, every now and then I snuck in a can when I went to the gas station or whatever. But I really try. I didn't want my kids to be like, what are you drinking? Can I have some?
Right. And then they say no.
And then they say, well, why?
Right.
I don't know. That's a good point. So this is big. You have to model how you eat. And I also feel like this goes along with eating adventurously. If you
Yeah,
want your kids
everything's
to eat
insane.
adventurously, then you've got to show it. If you're not
Yeah.
doing it, then they're going to be like, well,
If you want your
Right.
child to snack on carrots, you've got to snack
You
on
gotta snack
carrots.
on
Like, I
carrots.
mean, you can't be having something. And I feel like this is kind of the same thing as like when you see parents smoking cigarettes in front of their children. It's like they do it, but they tell their kids not to do it. Like in my mind, is like a dietitian. That's kind of what I think. You can't be like mowing down on Snickers bars and soda all day long, and then
Right.
expecting your child not to eventually
Right.
develop those same habits.
Right.
So
Again, is it
Yeah.
okay to do it as an occasional treat? Sure.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I'm not saying it has
Yeah.
to be 100% all the time,
Yeah.
but I mean, getting those good habits instilled in yourself, obviously, is going to be the most important
for
thing.
sure. All right, our next tip is to get picky eaters involved in the cooking process. And I really love this idea. I know that my kids from an early age have always wanted to be up there at the counter with me. They would grab a little chair and they would come over and watch me. So when they were really young and they couldn't do anything yet, they would just kind of watch. But as soon as they were able, I was letting them measure things, pour them in. I wouldn't let them handle a knife until they were a little older. But if they wanted to squeeze the lemon or
Wash something.
crack the egg
Yeah.
or whisk stuff, like they were all about it. And that
Yeah.
made it much more likely for them to eat the food because they felt like they had helped build it and make it.
Yeah.
So I think that if you start that again at an early age, or invite them to be a part of the process of making it, that can go a long way. I've also heard, I have not ever done this, but there were some suggestions online for letting your kids actually design the menu. So this becomes a learning opportunity for them. And you're working with them, but giving them suggestions, but you help them see, well, what kinds of elements should be in every meal, and then they can figure out what they're going to make for the week and help you go grocery shopping, even if they want. They can even name the dish something fun, so that they really have some ownership in the process.
Yeah, I think getting kids involved too, like even as a lot of adults I talk to that say they don't know how to cook, they don't know what to do. I mean, teaching your kids that from a young age, that's like providing a life skill that they're
Yeah.
going to carry with them
That's so
throughout
huge.
adulthood. And it's going to let them kind of have a head start, when it gets to cooking their own meals for themselves or for their families. So
I'm glad you said that,
yeah,
because
being
I
life
wouldn't
skill.
say that I got that life skill from my mom.
I would say I did not either.
Yeah, I luckily was interested in and figured it out on my own. But gosh, yeah, please,
Yeah.
if you want your kids, that's such an important thing
Yeah,
with your
it's
children. So make an effort to at least give them basic cooking skills. So,
Yeah.
all right,
absolutely.
what's next?
10, and this is kind of simple, just putting a limit on the number of times that you do eat out as a family or you do eat fast food. So
Yeah.
getting out of that like drive-through, or even just getting out of that sit-down restaurant, it's not only going to be healthier, it's going to save you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, if you do eat out, and I think this is going to change for people. If you tend to eat out like 4 or 5 nights a week, maybe you say you're only eating out 2 or 3 times a week for the next month, and then maybe eventually it's once a week. So setting some boundaries or some guidelines and looking at your week ahead of time. Like, if on Sunday you're looking, oh my gosh, I've got a crazy week ahead of time. What am I going to do about dinner? Maybe on Sunday you get some stuff ready so you can say we're only going to eat out 1 or 2 times, these busy nights. I'm going to prep some stuff so I can throw together a meal a little bit easier.
Right.
And again, that's going to take some time to get comfortable with. But putting an actual limit on the amount of times you eat out is a good idea.
And why would you want to limit the number of times you eat out at a fast food restaurant? Obviously, because you're training your kids' palate for what they think a meal should be. And so if you are, I want you to really think about this and just do a quick scan. Look back at your last 2 weeks. How often have you gone out to eat? And really just count the days. And I have a feeling that at least in our culture, more and more people are eating out at least once a week. I know that like our family doesn't. I think we might eat out twice a month maybe. But I don't think that's the norm at all. So really ask yourself, and then if it's like a lot, I mean if it's more than like 10 a month, I don't know. Definitely. I would be saying, what can I do to cut it back like 1 day, 2 days?
Yeah, I mean those foods just the whole health aspect, you don't know what's in them. They always are higher in sugar and sodium, things we're worried about, especially in a young population. The other thing is that it just kind of goes in hand. Obviously, if you're eating out a lot, your children aren't seeing you in the kitchen and they're not able to help you food prep. you don't have as much
Variety.
control over that thing. So
Right.
they're probably not going to have a ton of vegetables for you to choose at the drive-thru,
Right.
or even at most restaurants. So it just kind of goes in hand with a lot of the other things that
Right.
we've said.
This wasn't even planned. This is totally spontaneous. But how do you feel about school lunches? Because I know that school lunches are required, right, to follow
Yeah.
certain guidelines.
Yeah.
And I know that they have certain nutrition levels, but you're also they tend to be the same, 12 things that rotate. So again, your child
Yeah.
is getting exposed to the same, type. There's pizza, there's hamburger,
There's the same things,
spaghetti,
so the
casserole,
variety a lot of times
chicken
isn't
nuggets.
there.
Right.
I'm also going to say that when the variety is there, because for a school lunch to be served, it has to have like a fruit and a veggie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they serve to your child. That's not what your child has to eat. So
Right,
I
they might throw it
observed
out.
a lot of school lunches where, they have to have that fruit on their tray, whether it's a banana or an apple. And I'm going to tell you 70 to 80% of the time I saw those kids just throw that apple or throw that banana in the garbage.
Really?
So it had to be served for the meal to be a school lunch meal, but that doesn't mean that it's what your child is going to eat if that's not what's considered the norm to them. So
Interesting.
that gets back to like instilling good habits from an early age if you can, because once a child goes to school, that's a huge portion of their day. Sometimes that's school breakfast and school lunch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what you do at home really counts. So even if you just eat out 2 or 3 times a week and you think that's not a lot, that means if they're eating lunch at school and you're eating out, that's only a few meals at home each week.
Right.
So you're really missing out on
Where
some
you
prime
can
time
control
there.
what they're eating. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. What's the next
Oh,
one?
next one. And this one, can be debatable. It's hide or disguise the food. Obviously, if you're hiding things in their food, I'm thinking more veggies. They're not necessarily going to know that they're loving sweet potatoes or loving squashes. I think that's okay. I think it's important to offer them a vegetable on their plate that they can see. But in the meantime, of getting through that 6 to 10 times of them being offered a veggie and not eating it, you can still get some nutrients in there.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of hiding some veggies in when we can. It's also just a great way to get more veggies in as an entire family. As someone that loves vegetables, I still love knowing that I've got pureed butternut squash hiding in my chili, or pureed spinach or pureed carrots hiding in my spaghetti sauce. I'm just getting that many more nutrients in a meal that my entire family loves. So veggie purees like blanching spinach and pureeing it, or even just baking sweet potatoes and squashes and pureeing them, mashing them, having them in your freezer. You can add them to sauces. Cauliflower rice is something that's fairly popular now. You can dice up cauliflower in your food processor and add it into some rice. So I think hiding some veggies is a great idea. I do it for my family, even though I obviously try to serve them veggies that they know that they're eating. You can also try to add it to foods that they already really love, and just kind of see. They might not even notice, starting with a small amount and gradually hiding more and more.
Right.
I know now we really enjoy those like tomato-based sauces like spaghetti sauce and chili with more veggies in them, because we've realized like it really enhances the flavor and the taste so much more.
Yeah.
So
Soups are a great place to throw things.
soups, stews,
pasta,
sauces,
skillet meals,
casseroles.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah. All right, we're coming to the end here, but one of the last tips here is to give the food a fun name. So especially when they're younger, this is a trick that I used with great success. If I had something that they initially were like, I don't want to eat that, I heard this idea and I trying to name it something fun. So to use an example, I gave some broccoli to my kids when they were young, and they didn't want to eat it. And so they were really into John Deere tractors, and specifically they would play feller buncher, which is this is a thing that cuts down trees, one of the John Deere tools. And so they would often go around the carpet with their feller bunchers and make chopping tree sounds and buzzsaw sounds. And so I thought, well, how about we call these broccoli trees? And then we would pretend that we were feller bunchers at the table, and we were just like a buzzsaw, just like, and they thought that was hilarious. And now, it's probably not great table manners, but it got them to eat
to try it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think, and I've called, sometimes I've put a stew in front of them, and they're like, ugh, what is that? I remember calling it farmer stew one time, and then they ate it, because they're farmers. So I think, if you come up with something that sounds adventurous or fun, your kids might give it a whirl.
I have monster muffins in my house,
love
like
it.
pureed spinach and like muffins that I hide
A
things
green
in.
muffin.
It's a green muffin, so it's a monster muffin. It was a turtle muffin for a little while when we really liked turtles, but now it's a monster muffin. So whatever name you need to come up with, it is going to make it more fun for those young kids.
Yeah, we need something too called bibimbap. It's like this Asian dinner,
Oh.
and they just love to say that bibimbap, right? So look for names that already are fun. So
all right, next one is sticking to a routine if you can. And I know in this day and age that could be feel like it's impossible sometimes, but trying to keep meals somewhat on track at a decent schedule, offering breakfast every morning, offering a snack if you're at home, at about the same time every day, offering an after-school snack every day after school. Children, I'm using children because I'm thinking more children along these lines, but children do really well when they're on a routine and they know what's about to happen. So if they know that they're going to get cheese and apple slices when they get home from school, that's a good routine to kind of instill, as opposed to just flying by the seat of your pants and grabbing crackers or something like that when we're all starving. It's not good to really let it get to that point. So if they can expect that they are going to sit down at dinner at the table around 6, 7 o'clock at night, keeping a routine is going to make your food plan that much more beneficial.
Yeah, love it. Well, kind of our last tip of this picky eater syndrome is just to remember that you need to have constant reinforcement. So this is being picky, being rude is just simply not an option for us in our family. That's just a decision we've made as parents. But that doesn't mean that our kids get that right away. It requires constant reinforcement. So I feel like we're always drilling this. Almost every meal is an opportunity for us to reinforce this concept. So I still have my kids sometimes say, I really don't want to eat this. Or my youngest son said yuck the other day, and that was a moment where we talked about this again. And when we go to someone's house, I don't know if you've ever done this with like a play date before you go over to your friend's house for a play date. Before you go in, you have a little powwow in the car and you kind of review the rules about what play dates are and make sure that you're respectful and you say thank you. Well, we do that kind of conversation before we go out to eat or before we go to someone's house to eat. And we just kind of make sure, hey, these are the manners. Let's make sure we sit at the table and we don't say certain things and we don't get up right after we're done eating. We wait till everyone's done. Things like that. We just reinforce those things so that they understand.
That's a good idea. Just having a conversation before you get in there.
If you're struggling with picky eaters and you want to make a goal of trying to get better at that, just be aware, as with anything, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And this is going to take time. This is a whole paradigm shift. And so you really just have to stick it out and just keep reinforcing it. And don't expect, immediate results. It'll take time.
And don't get upset if you totally fall off the wagon. If you're like, we're not going to eat fast food all month, and then one day it happens. Don't
even set that goal.
Yeah, don't make unrealistic goals, first of all. But if you don't meet your goals 1 week or 1 day, don't think that everything's shot and you're just back into your old habits. So
this matters. I feel like this is a crusade that really matters because you are training your kids how to eat. One day they're going to take over for you and make those decisions themselves. And if we haven't done our job as parents to coach them and guide them, then they'll just continue to make those unhealthy choices when they're older. And that could have some bad results for them health-wise later on.
Yeah, even as a child. Yeah.
All right, well, that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I want to encourage you, if you are thinking about joining our CSA, if you'd like to become a member of our farm and get a box of our organic superstar vegetables every week this summer, plus the coaching and how to use them. We now have an opportunity for you to sign up for about another 30 days. You can do so at sharedlegacyfarms.com/sign-up. And you can be a part of our team of people that's not only giving you great food to eat, but really trying to help transform how you eat and give you some guidance on how to eat better.
You get veggies and help with how to use them. So if you've tried one of those things before and haven't been successful, you might want to consider this.
All right, well, thanks so much for tuning in. Visit our website, sharedlegacyfarms.com, to learn more, or you can find us on our YouTube channel at Shared Legacy Farms. Thank you.
Bye.